Yeah, basketball up, Des. Thanks. Right, waiting for the intro music. Not sure if we're going to get it or if we're live. I'll give it a couple more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Welcome back to the Aggie Pridecast. I am your host, Brian Holloway, and my special guest this evening is men's and women's track and field coach, or director of track and field programs, I should say, Alan Johnson. But before we get to him, let's do a quick recap of North Carolina A&T athletics over the past week. Certainly, you have to start with the women's basketball team. I mean, what a run they have been on. Had a 75-70 overtime win over Hampton on Sunday. They are now 7-1 in the Colonial Athletic Association. They are rolling. They are number one in the league. Nobody saw that one coming. They were picked to finish ninth in the conference, but now they are a full game and a half ahead of three teams. And so certainly congratulations go out to head coach Terrell Robinson and his group for the outstanding job they've done so far. Men's basketball coming off a big-time win. They had a 13-point lead with about 2 minutes left, and that kind of got dwindled down. But they ended up winning 90-86 on Saturday over William and Marion. They're now 5-4 in the league, and they're 10-12 overall. And so a lot of talk about North Carolina A&T entering the Colonial Athletic Association and how well they would compete and how well they would do. But the basketball teams have just been outstanding. The men's basketball team above 500 in the league, 4-1 on the road in the league. And certainly the women, as I mentioned, number one in the league. Let's talk a little, well, before we get there, let's talk bowling. The number 2 team in the nation, the North Carolina A&T bowling team, got underway again this past weekend after a 2-month layoff. So it was their first tournament of the semester. They didn't get off to the start that they wanted to, went 5-8 over the weekend, but certainly, head coach Kim Terrell Kearney will get that turned around fairly quickly. They'll be at Prairie View A&M this weekend, and so hopefully the second-ranked Aggies can get back on track. Speaking of track, let's talk a little track here. We got Alan Johnson here. Another great weekend for North Carolina A&T at the Carolina Challenge, hosted by the University of South Carolina. Raheem Hales is 4 for 4 this year. He's won every race he's competed in. An outstanding job this past weekend, winning the 400 and winning the 4x4. He's ranked 8th in the nation, number 1 in the Colonial, number 1 in the Southeast. And so certainly he's off to a great start. Jada Griffin, another outstanding 400-meter runner, won her event, finished 3rd in the 4x4. And so she's certainly off to a great start after transferring in from NC State. And even the field events are doing an outstanding job. Braden Hodgen last week at the HBCU Showcase. And then this week, Aeneas Reed winning a long jump, 23 feet, 9.5 inches. Outstanding job by him. And certainly A&T, if you look at the 200 in the Colonial, I believe 6 or 7 runners in the top 10 in the Colonial on the men's 200 side. So certainly an outstanding job by Coach and his staff. And let's get into a little bit of track and field while we're talking about it, doing our recap. And Coach, couldn't ask for a better start for you guys and gals.
No, I can't. I mean, they pretty much hit the ground running in New York. And then this past weekend, we went down to Columbia, South Carolina, and just continued to do well. And the main thing that I asked them to do after New York was just get a little bit better, and they did more than that.
Coming into, I asked you a few weeks ago, what were your expectations? You said you really didn't have any. You really didn't, know what to expect. But certainly after that first week in New York, and you got your first taste as a director of a program or head coach, what was that like for you? What was that like? What was that experience like for you as a first timer?
It was a little bit nerve-wracking just because it was the first time that everything was on my plate. I mean, I have an outstanding staff with Amber Monroe and Quamel Prince, but being a head coach for the first time, I'm the head guy now instead of being an assistant and looking to the head guy or head woman in charge to kind of bounce things off. So, it was like that, and then working my way around to all the different events instead of just worrying about the events that I personally coached.
And what is your impressions thus far from your team? And you mentioned to me, you made a great point when I talked to you a few weeks ago. It's a new year. I mean, we could talk about what happened here or there in the past, but this is a new year. This is a new team, a whole new
Yeah,
outlook on things. And so, after the first two meets, what are your impressions?
they want to win, and everyone expects nothing but excellence from themselves. Um, I mean, I can't express enough how much they hold themselves accountable as individuals, and then as a team, they hold each other accountable. They cheer for each other, they pick each other up when they're down, and that's not something that you often see with a team, especially a team like track and field, which is what I call an individual team sport. So it's just fantastic, men and women. The men are there for the women are there for the men. The men are there for the men, the women are there for the women. So it's an awesome atmosphere.
How are you going to structure this thing? Now you got two meets that are gone. You I'm thinking most track programs are building up toward that NCAA, building up first for the conference, and then the
Right.
NCAA kind of comes after that. And so, what is your strategy as you build to these two events? I know some coaches kind of coach beyond the conference
Mhm.
meet because they're coaching for the NCAA meet, and some coaches coach toward that conference meet thinking that it'll get them ready for the NCAA meet. So how do you approach things as you guys get closer and closer to Colonial and NCAA?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we want to win the conference. Um, having a having a good performance at the Colonial Athletic Conference meet and running fast times there, especially because of where it fits in the schedule. It's actually uh, 2.5 weeks before the NCAA. So for me, I'm thinking, we can really go to at Colonial and go really hard and still have enough time to rest and recover and be ready to perform at an even higher level at the NCAA championships.
Let's allow people to get a chance to know you and know your journey to North Carolina A&T. I think it's well known that you were an outstanding Olympian for our country. No question about that. I want to ask you about, because you gave me a great story about what it was like to win that first gold medal and just, being able to kind of be down there on the track and just kind of look up around you and in that environment. But to take us through just that process of the Olympics and just that moment when you realized that you were a gold medalist?
I mean, well, shit, it obviously it all started when first started running track, went through high school, went through college, and there was just a point where I had a major breakthrough in college, where I was an NCAA champion, and so in the hurdles. So I was like, hey, well, hey, maybe I can be pretty good at this. And then I just kept working really, really hard. I mean, my thing is, I was actually telling the athletes this week, it's like, look, um, there's a way for you to succeed and there's a way for you to go out there, do the things that you want to do and win. And just because they're not happening right now, it just means that you haven't found out how to do it yet, with the key word being yet. And you just have to keep going and keep striving and keep striving. And that's what I did. And found myself at the Olympic Games in the final as the favorite. And I just remember running that race. And when I crossed the line, it was like all the moments in my life that had happened to me before that just flashed before my eyes. And I was like, wait a minute. So this is a little skinny kid with glasses.
That's right.
It was the last one picked. You just won the Olympics. This is crazy. How did that happen?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I spent summers in my grandmother's house, just running the streets in DC and playing. Um, and then there I was, laying on the ground, just collecting my thoughts, uh, about everything that had gone into achieving that moment.
So you grab the Olympics and you win many times over, and then you gave me a story about Charles Barkley and just kind of him understanding when it was over.
Yeah.
Um, at the point you realized it was over, what went through your mind? I know we talked about car dealerships and all those other kind of things,
Yeah.
but what are some of the things that went through your mind as you realized that it's coming to an end?
It was, I always thought about the end, but I never really, like, really thought about the end. So there was a little bit of, okay, what am I going to do now from the standpoint of the only thing I wanted to do is run track. Like, I loved every single minute of it. I mean, if I could go back right now, if I could somehow magically get my old body back, I'd call Earl and say, "Hey, Earl, I gotta hand in my notice. There's something else I gotta do."
Right.
But it's it's hard. It's hard because it's especially when you've performed at a very high level and you've won, and then you just can't. You go as hard as you can, and you just have to say, I'm just not good enough. And it's not the same as when you're first starting out and you haven't gotten there yet. You you've gotten there and you're just not good anymore. You're not that good anymore, I should say. And it's a part of you dies, and you have to mourn that death and
Mm,
move on. I
mm.
guess death is a harsh word to use, but it's
It's appropriate.
yeah. I mean, a part of you. I mean, me and my wife talk about it because she was a high level athlete as well, and it's like you have to accept that that part of you is gone and it's never coming back, and being okay with that.
Do you remember when you were first approached about coaching collegiate track and field?
Um, okay, so the very first time I was approached about coaching collegiate track and field, it was after the 2004 Olympics, and I got a call from an SEC schools about me being an assistant, and I was actually a little bit offended by the call because, I'm thinking, you see that I'm running track. Why would you call me about a job? How can I do that job and still run track?
That's right.
And then I started thinking, wait, do you think I'm getting old and I can't do this anymore? Is that why you called me? so, so I respectfully declined. But then when I actually did retire, um, it actually just came out of the blue. I had a friend of a friend uh, called and said, "Hey, do you think Alan would be interested in working at the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs?" And that person called me and was like, "Hey, there's a job opening out there. Would you be interested in getting into coaching?" And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do it. And then I haven't looked back.
So yeah, you went to the Air Force Academy, Kentucky. No, you went to NC State as
Right.
well, and we hired you out of NC State, and outstanding job there as well. And so glad you're here in Aggie land. Um, what was when did you know the A&T track and field job was available, and did you have immediate interest? What was that process like?
Yeah, I had immediate interest. I mean, it was something that with the success that the program had had in the past, 2, 3, 4 years. Um, I'll just say I had my eye on it in case circumstances changed.
I hear you.
So I mean, honestly, I'll never forget. I was in Indiana at the regional meet this past year in May, and I'm at the warm up. I'm at the track for warm ups, and there's all this buzz around, and somebody comes up to me and goes, "Hey, did you hear? Do you hear who took the Tennessee job?" And I'm like, no, who? And they said it was, Dwayne Ross. And I was like, are you serious? That's okay. That's interesting. So I was like, okay, circumstances have changed. So I need to look into it.
That's
So
right.
I did that, and I reached out to Earl, and we had a conversation, and then one thing led to another.
Outstanding. Glad to see Alan Johnson here, North Carolina A&T Director of Track and Field Programs, doing an outstanding job. Want to give a shout out to Leanda Turner listening to us. Thank you. Stara Hogan listening to us as well. My man, Derek Holmesley, A&T Track and Field legend, also an A&T Hall of Famer, listening to us here and gives you all the best and is rooting for you. Says, let's go, Alan. And so I think everybody just really wants to see success here and really wants to see you do well. Have you felt the Aggie love?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I absolutely love it. I love it here. I mean, it's from the moment I walked on campus, there was like this welcoming feeling. I don't even know how to put it into words, but it feels like home, and it felt like home from day one. I know a lot of people say that because it sounds good, but I mean, I really truly felt that way. I mean, I remember just going to the student union, going in the cafeteria to eat lunch and just looking around and seeing everybody and the students, and then you pass people and kind of give them the head nod, hey, what's going on? And it it felt genuine.
No doubt, no doubt. I always love the head nod, man. It's just kind of
Yeah,
universal, you know.
yeah,
You know what it means.
yeah,
Um, let's talk a little bit about you've got. I think there was, and you and I had a very good conversation, and I think you were really honest. You said that we lost talent here. I mean, we lost an Olympian, we lost a
yeah,
national champion.
sure.
We lost really talented young people, but I got a sense from you that you were really happy with the team that is here, the leadership that you have,
Yes.
and just the overall feeling of the team's reaction toward you. Explain that to us for a little bit, just what it was like to come into a situation. I mean, I don't think we could exaggerate it. I mean, Dwayne was a legend here. I mean, he did a great
Yeah.
job. What was that like for you coming in here and then being embraced by that leadership that was left here?
I mean, it was great. I mean, it's one of the first team meetings that I had. I'm standing up there in front of everyone, and in the back of my mind, I'm saying, okay, what in the world do I say to these people to get them to buy in and trust me? And and they just did. I mean, I tried to give them a lot of attention, a lot of love, and it was probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks into practice, and there was Raheem Hales. He was talking to me. He just says, "Hey, coach, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to do whatever you say, and I'm just going to do it, and we're going to see what happens." And for me, as a new coach coming in and coming behind someone who has had as much success as Coach Ross did, I mean, that was it's almost like it was a weight lifted off my shoulders. And with him being the leader, him and Shamar Chambers, and they bought in, they believed in me, they put the work in, and everyone else followed.
We're here with the director of track and field programs, Mr. Alan Johnson. I was curious about great athletes and how difficult it is for them to coach because you've had so much success
Yeah.
on the international level. And then you have to coach people who may not have that kind of skill set or talent. What is the patience like for you? What is that like, you know, coaching in that, being able to have to coach, knowing that you competed on a high level?
Well, I had to learn patience. I mean, in my time as a coach, I've become more and more patient over the years, and just understanding that um, some the things that came easy to me or things that just seem so crystal clear to me may not be crystal clear to other people. And it's just about meeting people where they are. And everybody has things that are difficult for them to do. And we just keep trying to work on things, but focusing on the things that they're good at. So, you focus on the things that people are good at and you keep honing those things. And that the things that they're good at are the things that are going to make them good. And those things are going to come easier to them. That's why they're good at it. And the things that are more difficult, we just kind of put that on the back burner per se, and try not to stress about it too much. Because in that way we can always build on successes.
You seem like such a laid back guy. Are you fooling me? I mean, what are you like on the track? I mean, can you bring it up 1,000 when you're on the track? What would the kids say? I mean, you seem very laid back, very reserved. Is that your style, which is fine? Or when you get on the track, do you transform into something different?
I think if you ask the athletes, I have different layers to me. I mean, I want to say 90% of the time I'm laid back, unless I have a real reason to not be laid back anymore. Um, but I just kind of sit back and try to watch and uh, try not to get too riled up about too many things.
Let's get riled up about Raheem Hales. He's off to a great start. Had a great
Yeah.
run over the weekend on Saturday. Um, what makes him good, and what will make him better? What will put him in the conversation of 400-meter national champion contender?
The thing that makes him good is he's relentless every day. Every single day at practice, he's he goes hard. He goes hard. So like anytime as a coach, as a track and field coach, we're out there and we're timing everything. And the times that I give him, he and Shamar, because those two guys are neck and neck working out hard every day together. But most of the time, athletes don't usually surpass the target time in a workout. And these guys, a lot of times, surpass the target times. And then sometimes when it's a really difficult day and I'm kind of gauging them how they're doing, sometimes I'll say, hey, well, uh, this next one, dial it back a little bit. No, no. He goes, no, coach, no, 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 no. You told us this is the time. That's what we're gonna do, and that's all the time. That's day in, day out, and that's the thing that makes him good. The thing that's gonna put him in the conversation, uh, as far as being a national title contender, I think it's just gonna be about time and
Mhm.
him getting in those races. Um, getting Doing the workouts is a process. Racing and getting your times down is also a process. I think the more the more hot races he gets into, and he's such a fierce competitor, his times are going to drop. And as his time drops, I think he's going to get more and more confidence uh, to be there.
Are there meets coming up where he's going to be with some of the top 400-meter runners in the country that's going to be able to kind of help him lower that time a little bit as
Yeah,
the NCAA's approach?
yeah. Basically, so we have this weekend off, and then we go back down to South Carolina for a meet. And they're going to be, as a matter of fact, I just got off the phone with one of the coaches there, and they're going to be some professional athletes that will be competing there. So that'll be an opportunity. And then the next weekend we go down to Clemson for uh, for that meet, and that meet is typically one of the hottest meets of the year before we go into the championship season. I mean, everybody's kind of geared up and tuned up for that last uh, hurrah to say before they go to their conference meet. So there should be some fireworks in Clemson. So we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. That Tiger Paw is where people usually try
Yes,
to go and break records.
exactly.
They try to, achieve some certain goals because they know the competition there is going to speed them up a little bit. So yeah, that
Yes.
is usually one of those kind of meets. No question about it.
Yeah, that's typically a meet where you come out of there and it's late season and you get national leading times.
Right. Yeah.
People get their national qualifying time at that meet.
No question. Uh, let's talk about the ladies a little bit. Jada Griffin, 400-meter winner this past weekend, comes to you comes here out of NC State along with you,
Right.
um, and also a good 4x400 runner in that vein. Uh, what does she bring to the table for North Carolina A&T track and field?
I mean, besides her obvious talent, I think that the thing that she brings to the team is um, a more relaxed attitude. You know, she's somebody that she's not gonna overly stress about anything, and she I think she does a very good job at keeping everything in perspective. You know, she's someone that it's I just say to her, "Hey, Jada, go out there and just do the best that you can." She's like, "Okay," and that's just her approach. You know, it's never, "Oh, I have to run this time," or uh, you know, I'm not successful. As long as she's going out there and she's in the right mindset and she's having a good time, that's the thing that gets her to run fast. And I think that some of the other athletes on the women's team are seeing that approach, and it's a little bit different. And I think it's rubbing off.
Let's talk. I want to talk Aloha Bolade a little bit, only because you talked about as you put your staple on this program, middle distance is kind of where you want to add to that sprinter U reputation that North
Mhm.
Carolina A&T has, and she's kind of in that vein. 800-meter runner, has had some success early this season. Is she kind of the model you're looking for? And uh, you know, what is she? What are some of her strengths?
Um, I mean, like with she's determined. She's determined. I mean, all these guys they work hard. That's going to be the key. Like the key is getting out there and working hard. But she doesn't quit. You know, I got the opportunity to coach the middle distance athletes before Coach Cormel got here, and she wants it. I mean, she talked to me. She sat down and talked to me one day, and she was like, "Coach, I want to beat these girls. I want to beat these girls. These girls think they can beat me, and I'm going to show them." And she's just lively and bubbly.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and then there is the standout Paula Salmon,
Yeah.
and she has been a national championship contender in the 60 hurdles and the 110 hurdles and the outdoor. Had a tough break last year, falling at the national championships.
Mhm.
Really felt bad for her. Has she mentioned that moment to you? And
No,
what has been her approach coming in?
we haven't talked about that at all, actually. The main thing that she talks about, believe it or not, is helping this team win. Like she keeps telling me, "Coach, I can high jump. Hey, when we go to conference, you gonna put me in the high jump? You're gonna put me in the 400? You're gonna put me in the
We
four by
can.
four?"
Right.
I mean, it's like, I mean, obviously we talk about hurdles, but I'm surprised that she doesn't talk about them more, and that she's talking about these other events that she wants to participate in so she can help the team. And I'm like, okay. And I'm saying, because I didn't even realize she could high jump. And I'm saying, no, I'm not putting you in the high jump. Why would I do that? Well, Coach, I jumped 5'8". I said, what? When was this? Yeah, I
I think
did
she
it
won a
last.
conference championship in the high jump.
Yeah,
If I'm not
yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, we're gonna look at the high jump then. So she's having a ball with this too. I mean, she's having fun. It's her senior year, and she wants to go out with a bang.
And there's a little bit of, a little chip on their shoulder because for the women, they had the outdoor championship taken away from them, of
Mhm.
course. But I think there was this expectation that the level um, of where A&T would decrease, and I think for them it was almost offensive. Would you agree with that, or what would be your assessment?
Well, I think we don't do a lot of talking about that. They do have a chip on their shoulder. When they have a chip on their shoulder, I think they've always had at least somewhat of a chip on their shoulder. And their thing is, they want to go out and show the world who A&T is. They want the world to know that we're here. We're here to play. We're here to kick butt, and that's gonna be the deal forever. So everybody needs to get used to it.
Excuse me. What is the uh, if you have some veteran leadership now, but what is we talked about the middle distance, but how do you see yourself putting your stamp on this program? Excuse me.
Um, just being successful, however that is. I mean, right now, I don't want to put us in a box. Um, I want to make sure the staff is there, and that there's no event that we can't coach well. Because if we can coach any event well, then that means at any given time we can get any great athlete to come here. And as long as we can get good athletes to come here and score points, we're going to be fine. I mean, if it's sprinters, I mean, like which is the tradition, that's great. But if it happens to be 800, if we happen to get a pole vaulter who can go and be a national champion, uh, all the event winners, when they win, they score 10 points.
That's right.
So how we get the points is how we get the points. But I mean, with that being said, it's typically easier to attract talent in the areas that you've had previous success in. So more than likely, the sprints is where it's going to be going into the future. But I do not have I don't have a set format per se, as far as it's going to be all sprinters or mostly sprinters and a little bit here and a little bit there. It's gonna be able to ebb and flow and pivot whenever we need to.
Alan Johnson, North Carolina A&T's director of track and field, joining us here on the Aggie Pridecast. Odell Benders, another North Carolina A&T track and field Hall of Famer, says, "Welcome to you, Coach." And so the Aggie love just continues from some of Spaceman's people and from back in the day. And so certainly Aggie A&T track and field is certainly a huge family, and past, present, whatever the case may be. And so certainly glad you guys are joining us here. As we talk about building a program, field events have been pretty good for us thus far this year. Aeneas Reed winning the long jump on Friday. Talk about him and just the importance of those points as we go into the Colonial.
Yeah, he's been working. We've been really working on his takeoff, trying to get him, because I think me and him have talked. He has a lot left in the tank. He's young. He's still trying to understand what I'm asking of him in the long jump, and he's listening. And I think that, I mean, I hate to put numbers on people, but I think he can go at least another 6, 9, 10 inches further before this year is out, which would be huge for him.
Outstanding. And hopefully that will go down for him. And certainly we mentioned Braden Hodges is doing well in the shot put and coming off a great Big South Outdoor Championship. And so hopefully that momentum will continue.
Yeah.
Discuss your coaching staff for a little bit. You mentioned them earlier, but talk about them and what they meant to you thus far.
Okay, so it was myself, obviously, Quamel Prince, who's a middle distance and distance coach, came from GW. He was He's an elite runner himself, from 145 and the 800 meters. So he's leading that middle distance group and getting those guys together, like Yo-Yo and Fadra Kelly leading the women, Dawson Grogan leading the men, and then Amber Monroe. She's a throws coach. Um, I always kind of joked with her when I first got here. I'm like, hey, you're really the head coach because I mean she had all the institutional knowledge that I did not have. So when I first walked in the door, I really leaned on her heavily, still do, and I mean she's really kept me straight, and she's the one who, if it wasn't for her being here and being the person that she is, as supportive as she is, this job would be 10 times more difficult than it has been.
Amber Monroe is outstanding at what she does and just a terrific person.
Yeah.
I would say that just a really good person as well. And so certainly, so are you looking to add, let me ask you that in terms of staffing?
Yes, we're in the process right now. We actually have a job posting that closes in 2 days for another sprint coach. And then after that, we'll be looking for a jump coach, and that posting should go out here probably this week or early next week. And then one more posting that'll go out probably around the same time. So looking to add 3 more people to the staff. So it'll be a total of 6 of us. So once we round out and get a full staff, we're gonna really be rocking and rolling and firing on all cylinders.
No question. I mean, that just has to be help. The more bodies you have, that just has to help recruiting in terms of, building up the team. And so certainly
Sure.
can't wait for that. Do you have a recruiting philosophy at all? Just while we're on the subject, is that something you have, or like you said, are you just looking for somebody to score 10 points?
Well, points are definitely important, but more importantly is the type of people. We're looking for individuals that are gonna fit into our culture.
Hmm.
So you obviously, the first thing that you see a lot of times when you're looking at recruits, you're looking at marks, and then after looking at the mark, what kind of student are they? You talk to their coaches, you talk to their counselors, um, talk to talk to coaches that have coached against them because they're not biased usually.
Right.
Um, you bring them in and see how they interact with the team, and because there's definitely a strong culture here that if you don't fit, it's not going to work. And it's not going to work with me, and it's not going to work with the people that are here.
No question. Culture, accepting the culture and being aligned with the culture, I should say, is certainly important. Shout out to George Suggs, class of '72, says welcome to Coach Johnson as well. And
Thank
so
you.
a lot of people are excited. Your wife was a really good track and field standout. Does she plan to help with the program at all? Any plan to volunteer at all? Any
Yeah,
plans?
she's actually a volunteer assistant.
Okay.
So she's out there, especially on technical days with the 100 meters, with the short sprinter. She gives me a lot of. She's taught me most of what I know when it comes to the short sprints, and she comes out there, and she's going to be out there later this week also, working with the guys and girls, so men and women. So
Smart man. Always compliment your wife, no
yes,
question. Yeah. That keeps the happy home. So,
yeah.
no question about that. All right, thank you for joining us, Coach. We're going to close out on this. We're going to do a little
Okay.
this or that, kind of see what your choices are. Um, if you're given a task, do you handle it right away, or do you wait a little bit?
Wait a little bit.
Okay, all right. Nothing wrong with a little procrastination. Nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah. Um, What would you rather, lose your phone or you lose your keys? What's worse, I should say, losing your phone or losing your keys?
Losing my keys. Well, technically, my phone is my key in some cases.
Okay.
So I'd rather lose my keys.
I think I would too now. I mean,
Yeah.
5 years ago, I probably would have said, I'd rather lose my
Yes,
phone, but that phone is absolutely essential now, man. Like it's
everything.
everything. That's right. It's everything. It's even kind of like your wallet almost.
Yes.
So yeah, no question. I only asked this because we had a conversation earlier. Uh, would you rather have a car, electric car, or a fuel car, a car that needs fuel?
Electric.
Wow. Do you have one? Do you have an electric car?
Yeah, I have an electric car.
Okay. Okay.
Love it.
All right. Good. Good. You don't have to stop at a gas pump. No question. No question.
No, I keep
Yeah.
on riding. When the gas prices go up, I just look and say, man, that's rough.
Multiple choice or essay test?
Essay.
Oh wow. All right. A man with a that likes to expound. Okay.
Yes.
No question. Um, are you a are you a planner with a pen or a planner with digital?
Planner with a pen.
Oh, okay. Old school. Old
Yeah.
school. Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
found that when I write things down, I can remember it more.
Me too. Me too. It just it means something when you write it
Yeah.
down. Versus yeah. Are you English or math in terms of class?
Math.
Okay. Um, do you like a tidy office or is there serenity and chaos?
Chaos.
Yeah, yeah,
You've been in my office.
yeah, yeah. But when my wife cleans up, I lose things. So yeah,
Yes.
I
Me,
like knowing that
me
things are all
too.
over the place. No
Me
question.
too.
Yeah, yeah. When you're doing a document, do you save as you go or do you save at the end?
I'll save as I go
Okay, all right.
because I'm paranoid of getting to the end and losing it all. So I'm going to save as I go.
Romantic night for you and your wife. Uh, watching some movies on a platform or going out to a fancy restaurant.
Watching movies on a platform.
Okay, all right. Some homebodies. Good,
Yeah.
good, good, yeah. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to Stephanie LeGrand. Says she is an Aggie mom and welcomes Coach Johnson to Aggie Land. A lot of
Thank you.
a lot of welcomes here for Coach Johnson, who hopefully will be here with us for many years to come. And so far, it's just great success for you, Coach. Looking for more success. Like you said, you guys have the week off, and hopefully get some things rested. Now we go Camel City and South Carolina. Is that
We
both
have
places?
both of those on the schedule, but we're going to go to South Carolina.
Okay.
That's going to put us that's going to give us the best competition to put us in the best position to make those steps to winning the Colonial Athletic Conference.
North Carolina A&T Director of Track and Field Programs, Alan Johnson. Thank you for joining us. You'll be able to see the Aggies at Marcus T. Johnson Track during the outdoor season. They'll be here the weekend of April 8th and then here again April 21st and 22nd. I would encourage you to come out. We have some of the best athletes in the country. There's no question about it. And certainly blessed to have those athletes here in North Carolina A&T. So come out and cheer those guys on. And then, of course, the Aggies will try to go for the Colonial Athletic Association championship and then do NCAAs during the indoor season and certainly an outdoor season that is coming up. That's going to be exciting. So hopefully we'll talk to Coach Johnson again when the outdoor season comes. And Coach, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. And I want to thank everybody out there in Aggie Land for all the support and well wishes. And go Aggies.
Go Aggies. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Okay.